io non ho il senso del ritmo, non ce la posso fare. Vabbè, finirà, poi ormai vi tengo online finché non entriamo.
C'è un motivo per il quale non mi sono diplomato in violino.
No, infatti. UC Design. Sì, no, non c'erano lo scorso anno, mi sembra. O li ho rimossi?
No, penso che li abbiamo rimossi.
Li abbiamo rimossi?
C'era l'orchestrina jazz.
Tu che c'hai? Sempre così, come se fossi venuta a 3-15 volte. La scorsa era così. No, non ballo, ma voi non avete idea di che cosa mi chiedete, ma su.
Cosa? Che qua abbiamo problemi.
Qua abbiamo problemi di equilibrio che non potete capire cosa balliamo.
Coordinazione. Però siamo felici.
Non sentiamo niente, ma felici. Lui è un whip. Ok, si entra, fanciulle. Hanno aperto le porte, forse quelle del manicomio, non lo so. Adesso vi portiamo dentro il ciao. Poi se la smetto di urlare. Adesso probabilmente mi sentite abbastanza tranquillamente. Queste sono le porte del Creativation 2018 che si aprono, che sono già aperte. Entriamo. Come dice Tim Holtz, that's where the magic begins. Qua lì c'è lassù, c'è il coso di Tim Holtz. Assemblage. Miranda, dobbiamo andare...
Sì, dai, ciò che ci abbiamo da fare, ci si becca in giro.
No, aspetta, adesso le porto dentro. Entrano con noi. Entriamo al Creativation. Hello. Stiamo tutti riprendendo tutto, cioè ci riprendono loro, cioè qua è... Ok. Eccoci qua. Ok, questo è il Creativation, questo è il Town Square. Vi faccio vedere in alto le insegne delle varie aziende. Il Tim Holtz è laggiù, quindi io andrei direttamente laggiù tagliando il prato. Non so, avevo intenzione di andare da un'altra parte ma non mi ricordo neanche più dove. C'è Tim Holtz? No, non c'è Tim Holtz. Però Tim Holtz sarà uno dei... Vuoi andare all'Art Impression? Io volevo andare da Tim Holtz. Ma guarda che bello lo stand di Tim Holtz.
Andiamo subito all'Art Impression.
Ma io voglio andare da Tim Holtz.
Guarda, andiamo alla Sezix.
Andiamo alla Sizix a salutare Debbie.
Proprio, sul pezzo.
Sul pezzissimo. Magari alla Ranger. Oh, it's nice to be back.
Bello quello della Sezix.
La Sizix è meraviglioso, guardate questo booth. Debbie, hi! I'm doing a live, but I'm gonna hug you. Hi! Scusate, caramba, momento caramba. I saw you getting in, but you didn't hear me.
Where were you?
Oh, we were sitting in the back, waiting.
Sitting in the back of the...
At the hall.
Oh, I didn't mean the hotel.
No. We're still live. Say hi. How are you?
Good.
The booth is amazing.
Isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. Oh my God. I just
Six
need to
into a
grab a
little
few
section.
things and then we'll come by
Were you
and...
guys able to come in before the show started with Tommy? I saw
No.
Tommy this morning.
He's completely sick, but
That's what I thought.
yeah, it's filled with medicines, but still kicking.
Because of one live video that you did, or you did, he's blowing his nose.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing worse than being out of town and not feeling good.
I know. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
be here all day.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Oh, it's so nice to see you. See ya. Oh, ours too, probably. Scusate. Eccoci qua.
No, ascolta, Ciccia,
L'Art Impression. Ma non lo so, io voglio andare da Tim Holtz.
Ho capito, però abbiamo...
Lì c'è la
tempi
Ranger.
segnati.
C'è il signor Ranger, posso andargli a dire qualcosa?
Sì, io rimango qua e ti riprendo. Vai pure.
Dov'è l'Art Impression? Io non lo so, vedo solo la Ranger adesso. Io devo andare alla Notion.
L'ho anche segnato.
Allora, comunque... Allora, non è enorme, ma noi ci siamo già perse.
No, tu stai andando là perché vuoi andare a stare.
Perché
Noi
c'è...
abbiamo poco tempo.
Lo so.
Quindi prendiamoci una mossa.
Però se ci fosse Tim Holtz, sai che bello farli vedere Tim Holtz subito? Vediamo chi c'è. Scusate.
C'è.
Dov'è? Ah, c'è Tim Holtz, io vado lì, ciao. È stato bello. Ciao. Scusate. Hi. Sorry, I didn't want to take your place. Mi sono quasi scontrata con Mario. Oh my God. No, vabbè, non potete capire. Sono i nuovi Oxide, fanciulli. Sono quasi andata addosso a Mario prima. Chissà dov'è. Chi è che urla? Cosa c'è? Che c'è?
Io ti lascio,
Dove vai?
vado a fare un giretto.
Sì, ciao.
Ci si becca in giro dopo.
Noi dobbiamo andare alle 10:30 da qualche parte, alla mezzogiorno. Cosa abbiamo da fare noi?
Abbiamo quello di David Tutera alle 12.
Ok.
Ci vediamo davanti alla
Ciao, io sarò qua. Ciao.
Because these are dye and pigment, you have a lot of freedom as far as mixing your colors, and you can work directly onto a non-stick surface simply by pressing down some of those colors. And I press down because it gives us a suspended medium, so we want to get ink out, we can't just drag it. It's going to look like there's no ink in the pad, but when you press down, there's plenty of ink there. So it's really important to educate the customers in the sense that ink has a dry. What I'm going to say is take it and just push it down on the paper. Do you see ink? Okay? Because a lot of them are just kind of doing that, there's not much there. But ink is like a wet kitchen sponge, right? It's just in there. So when you press down, that's when ink comes out. You let go, and that's when it goes back in. So sometimes I always know because I see it on YouTube, you know, because they see my hands just like I'm really pressing down. All right, let's do it.
Il montre les obstacles.
Chissà se riesco a guadagnare un posto migliore.
Every launch of oxide, there's a method to my madness. What is the next little channel that we're missing now? So I'm going to spray this with water. You see the color really comes to life. And you can work with any kind of paper. You can work with watercolor. I like to work with mixed media heavy stock just because it's a pretty durable paper. And I'm just going to go in and make a print first. Just get some color on there. And then I'm going to go in and dry it. Okay? Really important thing to remember when you're working with any type of ink medium, any kind of ink. Wet on wet blends, wet on dry layers. So if it's wet on wet, it means when I pushed in that paper, see I didn't get any ink there? You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Don't go back in and double dip. Because if I went in there, right, if I said, oh, I missed that corner, I'm going to go in there with some blue, that blue is going to then hit this, that's going to hit this, and I won't have orange anymore. I won't have this color. It's just going to turn into mud. So you have to just stop for that second, dry it. It doesn't have to be crispy dry. It just has to be dry enough where you don't see puddles on there. If you don't like the look of something, so if you're like, oh, I don't really like that, then just touch it. Get rid of it. Now I can go back in and decide, okay, now I want to put some blue there. There we go. Now I'll put a little bit there. Next layer, dry it. Doesn't mean your second layer is going to be pure magic. See that? So every single time you just go in, flip it over, and what I always tell my students, once you look at it, commit. Just dry it. You can always go back, but if you kind of get in your head about, oh, that's not what I want. Look, I still don't have ink there. You'll get there, but you can't get there all in one layer. But look at how these new colors, look at that aged mahogany coming in there, right? You got that carved pumpkin, that really bright color, and of course, loving working with a Little Mermaid Lagoon, and this deep color, that of course is that little bit of blueprint sketch. Also keep that in mind, the colors that you're using. If you have really intense colors, and you put a lot of it down, well, I hope you like it, because that's what you're gonna see more than anything else. So you kind of have to pick and choose the way your colors go down. So now I want to introduce something totally different than what I have here. I want to go in and maybe throw in some pink or something like that, something a little different. So I'll take some of the first release. Maybe we'll go with a little bit of pink raspberry. I'll throw some of that down. That'll be cool. Maybe we'll take a little abandoned coral, and let's do some brighter greens. We'll do some twisted citron, right? Because these are a lot pretty deep colors. There's a couple of brighter colors, but we have some deep colors. So we're going to go in and add our water. See, that's oxidizing right there on the surface. I'm going to throw some pink right over the top of that blue.
Oh, that's pretty.
And in the dye world, that's not happening. Right? If you had distressed ink and you had dark blue, and you're like, I didn't add pink. You're like, oh, no, you're not. If you are, you're really not going to see it. But this, because it's that fusion of dye and pigment, really allows you to do whatever you want. And I think that is really been the excitement for a lot of people, is the fact that that fear that they had, what colors do I start with, where do I blend, they're just like, okay, I don't like it. You're only as good as your next layer. That's what I tell people. You don't like it, the next layer can change everything. Right? So wet on wet blends. So when you have wet, think like watercolor, right? So if you did a line of blue and it was wet and you went in with like a little bit of yellow, they're going to blend and make green. right? But if you had blue and it dried, and you did a color on top of it, it's going to layer, it's going to sit on top. So wet on wet blends, wet on dry layers. And this is the part, it's the painful part, right? It's like, dry. But that's what I love about this heat tool. I can get really close, and you can see that the more layers and the more water, that oxidation is really happening, right? It's really creating that cool background. I'll do one little splash in there. I'll clean this up, we'll dry it, and then we'll go in and do some other things to this background. Because you can do a lot of things. When things are wet, I can still lift it, and that's going to bring me back to my other layers. So once I have my tag dry, I can still go in and splatter water. Now with the distress sprayer, I have the ability to mist. If I quickly squeeze, or if I slowly squeeze the trigger, I can get those drops. That's really why you want a trigger sprayer, because that's going to give you those big splatters of water. And then when I go in and take that off, that back. See, it just adds a whole different interest to it. And it has a very suede feel. There's so many things you can do with oxides. A lot of times I'll use them by themselves. A lot of times I'll use them with the dyes, right? So when you're working with this on your craft sheet, you can put oxides, but you can also put distress inks down. That's totally fine to kind of mix the two.
So you can mix the distressed inks and distressed inks, right?
For backgrounds, yes. The only thing you don't want to do is like cross-contaminate, meaning if you're going to blend, you don't want to have a blending tool and use it in both.
So the blending tools need to be separate.
Correct. But when you're working,
dry, it's good to go.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
Good
if
to
I'm going
know.
to go in and blend, let's see if I have a blending tool. Notice I need more than one because this is going to be the first one I lose.
I've got 3 days.
I've got one for every day.
All right.
I think I can't lose more than one a
You
day.
should have put
I can't believe you don't have one for every color.
I know.
No, here's what I do, because for my inks, for my distress ink, I store the blending foam underneath each color.
Okay. So you just go
So
in and grab it.
technically I have it. Right? On my oxides at home, I actually went on Ranger's site and print out the little color chart. I take little Velcro dots, stick one in each color, and I do have my foam then stuck to that sheet of cardstock for my colors. But that was also another reason why I did the blending brushes. Because the blending brushes are also a whole different way that you can apply these inks that just really give you some freedom. So here I'm going to press down, because remember, if we need ink out of the pad, we must press. So when I see these people doing this, now you just put some ink on your blending tool, I'm like, no, you're not. You may think you are, but you're not going to really get enough ink on there. And now I'm just going to work from that outer edge, and here I can really amp up that pink, right? If I want to go in with that. So that allows me to fill in the blanks. So all those spaces that you didn't get, or those effects, or maybe you think, you know what, I want a little bit more blue there. And I'm just going to tuck that under. You really don't have to worry about it. And it just sits right under there forever.
I see.
See, now I can throw in blue there. It's about getting blue there. It would look like mud. So that's why I say just kind of get the effect that you like, then you can go, and I could have done this with oxides. So I could have done this with oxides if I wanted to.
And it looks like you have your blending tool at an angle.
I do. I have it at an angle because it's going to catch the cardstock, and see, then it's going to tuck under the paper.
Right.
See that? But if you just have a slight angle, that's why it's designed to rest your hand on it.
Okay.
Some people think they're driving a sports car when they're blending. You know, they're like, and then you get those circles. But if you just kind of rest your hand, then you're able to pull ink from the mat, any non-stick surface onto that. But the dye, that's where we're getting those really vibrant colors, because we're going straight dye. So that's what I said. You could blend with anything, but just because you have a new toy, I tell people, don't forget the toy box, right? Just because we have oxides doesn't mean it's all about oxide. Oxides are even better when you pair them with distress ink or distress stain, because now you're getting that intensity of the dye, that little bit of pigment. And that's just a cool background. So other things we can do, we'll talk about doing a little bit of blending. So these are the distress blending brushes. Now the blending brushes are sold in a 2-pack. I've gone in and just painted the line. Okay, I have to think of a better way. I'm not totally happy with this way, but because these just come in a 2-pack and it's silver, and what they are a brush. Okay, it is a natural brush that is designed for applying inks in a different way. Okay, it was inspired by a makeup brush, but this is going to be a little rough on your face. Okay?
So we're not going to use that.
Yeah, this is not a soft brush. It's really designed for ink, and I can use it with oxide, or I can. Those are my resist ones. Let's go in here. So I'll show you some cool things that we can do with the brush. Maybe we'll just take a layering stencil. Let me just take a stencil off. We'll use that one. All right. Now, I could go with my blending tool. Now, you know, if you're blending, to try to kind of go into a stencil is a little challenging. You can do it, but a couple things happen with a stencil. Besides the circle, that foam really likes to catch on those little plastic pieces. And that was the thought of, okay, what's another way that I can apply these inks? And yes, I was inspired by a trip to Sephora, and I saw those fancy makeup brushes, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. But because I've seen a lot of ink brushes, but the downside to an ink brush is you throw it in a bag, and this ink is everywhere. It's all over the bag, it's all over every handle. But more importantly is how I can control this, because I've seen again in the makeup world, you guys have a lot to choose from. It's a lot of different brushes. Big brushes, fluffy brushes, little brushes, tip brushes, short brushes, long brushes, and I'm like,
No,
I just need a brush.
it's a difficult
And
world.
let me do that. I can take this. Oh, I should probably pick the pink. Let's stay organized too. See, I color coded. I'm not really going to be good. All right.
Okay.
So I can take this, and this piece slides up. Okay? That's what's going to protect the bristles. So what I can do is just go in, and I can get ink on my brush. I can go in where my stencil is, and I can just go in and really be aggressive. I can pounce that out. Right?
Faccio vedere, c'è Vicky
Go
Papaiano.
in with a little bit of a detail color. So here I'm just adding that nice soft layer. I don't get any lines. I don't get anything. I don't have to worry about a circular motion, because you can see that this is flaring out.
Stavo facendo la
Okay, see
cretina
that?
perché c'è Vicky
But let's say
Papaiano.
on this,
Allora mi
and these are
guardava
just
per
natural, so
quello.
they're just going to continue to shed, but it's not going to leave you with nothing. I've used mine to death because I thought, oh boy, in about a week I will have like 2 little bristles. No, it's good. When you're finished with it, all you do is slide this up. That's going to allow you to then put the cap on, and then it locks closed. Okay, so you don't have to worry about putting the lid on and your bristles falling out. But if I wanted to add another color, like maybe I want to go in and add some yellow, add some wild honey to that,